Good evening, Mayor and Council. John Della Gloria, 7740 Southwest 141st Street in Palmetto Bay. I was not intending to speak tonight. Marcus Frankel and Mr. and Mrs. Stock spoke about their property, which is on 124th from 8th to 9th Avenue. The parking lot that belongs to the bank is adjacent to it. The reason they were speaking is because we want to move the NRO line to 123rd Street. The property goes from 124th back to 123rd. The staff originally recommended that. At your last meeting, I believe that was changed. And although I was not at your last meeting, I believe the concern was that affordable housing was going to be part of what was going to be built there. That is absolutely not the case. What the clients are trying to put together is, and it's not been done yet, there's only discussion about putting together anywhere from a 3 to 4 acre site there to build a mixed-use workforce retail development. So I just wanted to put the council's mind to ease about that issue because I know it came up last time. The whole point was to move the NRO to incorporate that property. Thank you.
The 124th and 8th?
It's between 9th and 10th, I'm sorry.
9th and 10th.
Between 9th and 10th. I don't know my left from my right, so getting that wrong was par for the course. Thank you.
All right.
Am I ready?
Yes.
Carol Prager, 2509 Northeast 135th Street. This certainly was a very good beginning this evening. It had a very lovely vision for the city, extremely better than what we have. I live off Biscayne Boulevard, east of Biscayne on 135th Street, and I coexist with 10-story buildings in a neighborhood that is beautiful. We have medians, we have, I don't think, a very wide road as they were discussing for some of these 110-story buildings, but we managed to do well there. Here's my problem with the objection of Councilwoman Keys to any type of potential development on Biscayne Boulevard. The only thing I hear is an objection to traffic. I'd like to know what the solution is for the lack of revenue that this city has and the condition that it's in now. And where will the money come from if we do not develop? Taxes will be raised. It will hurt a lot of people in the city to have their taxes raised. Perhaps it won't hurt Keystone Point so much, but it certainly will hurt a lot of other people. And so I think the time has come for you all to really examine very closely what needs to be done here. It's not going to be a good thing for all people, but I think that, on the other hand, it will be very good for a whole lot of other people. I think the time's come. A lot of people need this here. We need this. The city's in a very bad situation, so I'm asking you to be brave about this. I've asked you this before, to be bold, to have vision, to think about the future. There are young families here. I spent the weekend cleaning the city of North Miami with a bunch of young families here with children. They bought homes into this city. They've invested in this city. They've got a good 30, 40 years to go in the city. I've done my 30, 40 years. Give them an opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Hector Medina. I live at 1270 Northeast 124th Street. And there is no way of stopping development. It can be done. But we have to be realistic. My house is at less than a mile from here, and I walk through the neighborhood coming here, and I see kids in bicycles and families driving their babies on their strollers, and I see barbecues, and I see this is a family-oriented neighborhood, and it's fine. Development cannot be stopped. I have a problem with the density question that is open, and you have to be more specific. I can stop density, not near than you, but last Sunday there was an article about the people in Coral Gable that spoke about the development they had and how much they regret it. So it's not always, density is not always good, and it has to be done within boundaries. This is a community where there's a lot of young families, and we need to help them. But we cannot help them by exceeding normal density parameters, and that's it.
Good evening. Robin Tisdall, 2108 Northeast 124th Street. So I've heard a few members of the planning people who've said they were on the planning commission and that this report would have been really great to have a year ago. Well, you got it tonight. And you asked for it, and there were recommendations made, and all I'm hearing is people that are against said recommendations. So it just kind of confuses me just a wee bit. In addition to that, just kind of looking at the recommendations that were made. They're, for the most part, what I would think are solid recommendations.
Check the batteries.
That's probably the battery.
Sorry.
I'm really active. Sorry. So there are, failed joke, sorry. So anyway, moving forward, I think that they are really amazing recommendations that are being made. I don't think that anyone on council, specifically since she's taking the brunt of the attacks here tonight, Councilwoman Keys, is anti-development, and I don't think that anyone in Keystone wants to pay more in taxes. Whether affordability is true or not, that's not certainly a piece of it. I'm happy to carry my fair share. I got broad shoulders, give it to me. I chose to live where I did. But with that being said, growth is going to happen, and I think it's important that we just recognize that no one is saying that growth can't happen. It just needs to be well thought out, well planned, sustainable, and kind of right for all, and what anyone would want. I can't imagine that anyone would want to live near a 300-foot building. Just my personal opinion if I was in a single family. Don't care if I can see the water or not. Thank you.
Mike the Knife. Go ahead.
Mike McDearmaid. Mike McDearmaid, 840 Northeast 127th Street. A lot of the things that have been said tonight, I would have said, so I don't have a lot of things left to say after everybody else has had their say. And certainly, Councilwoman Keys, I do understand your concerns. But in low and mid-rise, in working and knowing and going to a lot of development conferences, one of the things that came through, that this is a very good start. And maybe it should have started a year ago, as Councilman Galvin said. But it is a good start. But there's one problem, and sometimes small things can make big changes, and that is that they kept referring to low and medium heights as being parking included. I've had enough experience to know that this is a killer for a lot of developers, and particularly the low and mid-range developments, that having to have to build parking separately or included in a building just as a killer of the cost of the project. So I really think that particularly in low and medium size projects that we need to, and I know we spoke about it at the last meeting, and I know that several council members were in favor of it, we really, really need to exclude parking from the height. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Alina Medina at 1270 Northeast 124th Street. And I want to say that I support Councilwoman Keys with the observation about the density. I also want our city to be beautiful and to grow and not be stagnant. But we need to consider also our way to be able to go where we want to go. I hate to go to Doral because how difficult the traffic is. And I don't want this for my city. I want it to grow beautifully and in a good way. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Silvia Mayola, 800 North 124th Street. I think it's a very good plan. It doesn't matter if you start 1 year ago. The most important is when you start. And it's beautiful, for me, beautiful density when it's coming together with education, museums. Density, it doesn't come by itself. You need certain amount of money to grow. And in most of the cities where density exists, the 90% of people, they don't drive. They have a good transportation, like buses, like a subway, but you need a good transportation because you don't have to have conflict. You don't have to start with something if you don't plan all together. But it's beautiful to grow. And you can stop this. Thank you.
All right, public hearing is,
Yes, Scott. Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. First, I want to thank the council for having the ability to bring this item back and to address this issue. I must say that the planners have come up with a very nice rendition of what the reality of what these buildings may or may not look like. Again, it is a start. And I'm not going to say the way we did it in 2007 was better than the way we did it now, but I have to say we had a lot of workshops and people knew what we were getting into. But as you all make your decision tonight, be careful not to back away from where you wanted to be originally, because my council, we backed away. We were going to get more aggressive, but people were scared of some changes. Well, we saw the changes that we made 7 years ago didn't really do much in this city. You can't really point out to anything new being built in this city in the last 7 years other than a replacement of 2 fast food restaurants. Also, this is just the beginning. The comp plan is just a plan. Then you have the LDRs. Then you have all these other layers of the bureaucracy that's going to come in before anything is even attempted to be built, which is a year away at least before anything can be built. So don't be scared. There's lots of regulations. There's lots of things in place. There's lots of reviews that are going to come before you all. One of the other things I want to say is, like Mike McDermott said about the parking should not be included in the overall height of the building. That when you're required to have a 2 or 3 story parking garage, it takes away from the feasibility of that building. Something I want to just is on the Miami Herald online right now, Scott, and you can look at it. In March, the city of North Miami Beach rezoned 8 neighborhoods to allow for high-density mixed-use projects. You know what just happened because of that? They sold 2.2 acres of land at the corner of Biscayne Boulevard, the Dean's Gold. They just sold that property for $23.2 million so that they could build high-rise density type of development. North Miami Beach is not scared of the density. I agree with the consultants to say keep the density open, and that the fact that the 2 pieces of property in town, I have to put this on the record.
Mr. Burns, I can't let you continue because in
10 seconds.
Because of the
2 pieces of property in town that
constraint
people want to spend $70 million to develop, we haven't even touched that. Haven't even touched it. Yet the height that they want is lower than anything that the consultants recommended. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And public hearing is now closed. Let's continue with the discussions or comments from the dais. Anyone who wishes to go first?
I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
First, discussed it with staff. It's understood that last week we did not address the future land use map. So whatever we decide tonight, we'll have to adjust the map. So we are ready this evening after our recommendations, if this passes, to change the map in accordance. Okay. Because people had asked, so the map that's out there really is not going to be the map we're agreeing to. It's going to change. I am in agreement with staff, other than what I made a comment before. If that's what staff is recommending, they are the professionals. we said that we would listen to our professional planners, and that is what I'm going to do this evening. And I'm going to recommend that, number one, if you're all in agreement, I would make the motion, that the elements 2 through whatever number that we already discussed in great detail 2 weeks ago, we go ahead and keep those the same. Staff has put them on record with the amendments, so I don't think we need to address that tonight. I'm going to recommend that we do go ahead with staff's recommendations in their, as shown there. 2 items were not addressed, actually 3 items were not addressed in their proposal. One which is the parcel on 123rd Street, 19th Avenue. Mr. Dubin was here. We agreed last week, we voted on all this. I'm hoping we keep what we agreed to last week, that parcel would remain at the commercial 55 feet. Planning Commission did recommend 7-0 or 6 unanimously to keep the NRO boundary where it was. A lot of people, it's a nice project. Several residents came out 2 weeks ago and at the Planning Commission, and this is on a single-family, mostly single-family neighborhood, and they've requested that stay. Planning Commission recommended that unanimously, so I'm going to recommend that we keep that NRO the same. And my third request or motion would be that that 1.23 goes back to a supermajority. That is the reason this entire comp plan failed 2 weeks ago. I requested it to come back to give it another shot, and Councilman Galvin, I believe, agreed. So that would be my recommendation, to keep what we decided last week with the exception of going for supermajority and taking staff's recommendations across the board, and let's moving this comp plan. If this is not enough for everybody, that does not mean we cannot come back and address higher densities and higher heights, but we really need to get our comp plan passed. And, you know, I agree, we want tax dollars. I would really like to see our downtown developed. We've had 110 feet. I look at the Doral advertisements. These beautiful buildings, cities, are being made at 7, 8 stories. We've had 110 stories for 8 years. There's not been one application, one permit requested. So I just don't buy that you can't build a 10-story building and make money. So I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead.
No, well, you have to allow the other council members
Well,
to
they
to
can
also
second it
speak.
or not, but that's going to be my recommendation for the evening.
Yeah, that's your recommendation for now.
And
Mm.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
and
No, go ahead.
I think I'm gonna follow the recommendation of the consultant when it comes to West Dixie Highway at 110 feet and 75 to 100 density, and with a small amendment of excluding the parking lot. That will be my recommendation. Follow the recommendation, just exclude the parking lot. And also, we have Works Park, and I have a question for Tanya. Works Park right now is zoned as mixed use, medium or low density.
The Rocks Park site is currently zoned as R5. That's medium density residential.
I would like to make an amendment to put Works Park as a mixed use, high density. That would be the two recommendations that I want to make tonight. Mixed use, high density for Works Park.
Okay. So noted.
Including the about the partial that belong to the CRA.
Okay, so we've noted that on the record.
Okay.
To clarify, I believe the portions that you're referring to is the portion, the 3 lots
Yeah.
owned by the CRA that is located along Northeast Fifth Avenue.
Yes, we want the
Okay.
whole thing to be rezoned. Those are my two recommendations.
Mayor, do you want to vote by recommendation, like one recommendation at a time, or you want to do it all at the end? What would you recommend, Mayor?
Let's just pack them up and do them all at the end.
So, okay.
Hmm?
We can go one item at a time.
You want to do it one at a time? Let's do them one at, huh?
Okay, so
Let's
Coun-
do the one from Vice Mayor first.
I don't, hers words are really coherent, so I don't really know what it was. It was just, but I know what Councilman Bienem's on, so you want me to just read his and
Yeah, okay.
we'll go from there. Councilman Bienem's
You wanna have
motion was to approve the consultant's recommendation regarding West Dixie Highway with the exception of the parking lot. That was his first amendment. And the second was to change Rux Parks into a mixed-use high density, including the portions of the CRA. That was Council Member Bienem's motion. Do I have a second?
Just a correction,
There's one or
including
two items. Let's do one item at a time.
including the 3 lots along Northeast Fifth Avenue belonging to the CRA.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
have this
separate
second.
portion from the Rocks Park site.
Yeah, I said including the portions of the CRA.
Yeah,
But the record will.
okay, sorry.
So we're
Sorry.
just voting on the Ruggs Park right now?
We're voting on both for Councilmember Bienem's
What is both?
recommendations.
I'll second Councilman Bienem's.
Recommendation?
West
for
Dixie and West
discussion.
Park.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so the motion was made by Councilman Bieneme. It was seconded by Councilmember Galvin.
Discussion, please.
Absolutely.
Mr. Bieneme, if the parking lots are excluded, how many floors of parking lots are excluded? In other words, if it can go 110 feet, is that on top of 1 story of parking garage, 2 stories of parking garage, 3 stories?
And can I have some recommendation from staff? No, I understand you said including the parking. If we exclude the parking, what
Well,
will you
They said not
recommend?
including it.
No, I
This is
understand that. Given,
We did recommend including the parking in that height. And I can tell you that from my experience, these mid-rise buildings are being constructed. They're the most popular product right now in urban areas where development's happening. And they generally do not exceed 7 floors. And they usually wrap around the parking. So the parking's not even an issue to be counted under the buildings. And I can tell you that allowing the parking, requiring the parking to be contained within that height, I don't believe affects the viability of constructing these building types. If you want to exclude parking, I would limit it to as few as possible, no more than a couple of floors, for example.
like 1 or 2?
If that's what you want to do.
Well-
But
well,
our
we-
110-foot recommendation is based upon the height and the mass of a building, and whether it's parking or apartments, it's still mass and height. So I would recommend that you include the
let's-
height in that,
Let's
in
leave
the
it at
parking in
1
that.
floor.
No, but let
only
me ask you,
1
Mr.
floor.
Consultant, I'm sorry, but wouldn't the number of parking floors depend on the number of parking spots
Yeah.
that would be required depending on the density you're going to build on that
Sure.
building?
Exactly.
So you can't say 1 story. What if it needs more than that?
No. What I was saying is if you really wanted to exclude parking, then limit the exclusion to the fewest number of parking floors possible. Obviously, you're going to need multiple floors of parking for these
Yeah.
types of buildings.
Yes. But what would be your recommendation?
Is it a
Is
few?
it nothing? What's a few?
Well,
1,
no,
2?
Here's where we're getting into the problem, those guys, and we made this up out of our nose at the last meeting, and we asked for some specific recommendations. They've now given them to us. If we're gonna disregard them and start making it up out of our nose again,
Yeah.
recognize what we're doing, but,
No,
you
that's
know,
not what we are doing. And
Well, you
I
do-
embrace the recommendation.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only thing we're doing is just a
Trying to try.
friendly change that to allow the parking to be excluded.
But he's
That's-
saying we don't need it, and
Our recommendation stands that parking is part of that 110 feet, and we feel very comfortable and confident in that recommendation.
so I have my second. I'm willing to flex with you a little bit, but I don't want us to go, because the standard that we're about to set on Dixie with flexing, with parking underneath, now people are gonna jump up and say, well, do that in my district too, and wait, do that in my district, and I wanna have a two-story district, and like on Biscayne, I'm very interested in keeping it at 110 plus 40, including your parking. I'm not looking to go higher to put more parking in, but if we do it there, now I've gotta justify why I didn't do it here. The reason why I don't wanna do it is because our consultant didn't recommend that. That's why I don't want to.
Okay, let's continue with your motion, Mr. Councilman.
I did the motion, I have the motion.
No, the motion stands, okay.
Yeah.
Would the parking excluded?
Yes.
Yeah,
But-
okay.
But again, the question I asked in making the second was, how many floors of parking do you want it
But
to?
understand, based on our code and regulation, when you're having 110 feet, then with about 75 units dwelling, how many parking lot are required? Can you come on the mic?
Can you?
Nick Solobran, city planner. It will be 1.5 parking per unit, so 275 multiplied by 1.5, about 270 plus 137, about almost 400 plus another 5% for per visitors. So basically, this question is it's really site specific. Based on the development, then we have to determine the amount of parking that is required. Then, as we review the application, then we'll sit down with the developer to know how many floors of parking they would need. But we cannot sit here and say, and have a cap on the number of parking floors that we require, because it has to be site specific.
Okay, that's mean even if we agree right now 110 feet including the parking, a developer always can come and ask us to exclude the parking. Is it correct?
I mean, if we say it's the parking is excluding from it, then they cannot. The height would be capped at the 110.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what they're gonna have to live and play with.
Okay.
Can I make a comment? I think to put parking without further study, you're opening it up. Are we gonna have 1.5? Are we gonna have 2? Are we gonna make a parking agreement with the next building over and let them park? So
But
what you're doing is you're giving an unlimited height to parking.
no, yeah, not
Where is our-
unlimited height, because there's a requirement from the city.
No, there's a minimum requirement. There's no
Yeah.
maximum requirement.
Exactly.
So you're leaving it unlimited. I really wish you would put this in 2 different motions, so we could vote on each item separately.
Council member, I can give it to you in this fashion. If you want to exclude parking, then you should be aware that you could be on a typical project, if they're really going to need to exclude parking in order to build the number of stories they want to build, and that would be higher than 110, you could be looking at 4 stories of parking, maybe 5. So that changes the height tremendously. You're adding another 40 to 50 feet of height to the 110. So.
So if,
Bill, guys, audience, please.
excuse me, please. So which means, I mean, if they would need on an 11-story building, if they would need 4 or 5 stories of parking, that would leave them with only 11 minus 4, with only 7 stories, right? So that would minimize their possibilities of, making a good profit.
I disagree with the comments that were made regarding the economics of these types of developments. I have to say that these mid-rise buildings are going up with 7 stories, inclusive of parking, all over the place. They're doing beautifully in areas with significantly higher property values than some of these corridors. Now, I'm not talking about Biscayne. Biscayne is a different story. But these products are having absolutely no problem being built in very successful development and redevelopment areas all throughout the country, as well as South Florida. And it's just not an issue. Excluding parking has not been an issue for these. Typically, they're either going to have a parking structure behind the building, or they're going to wrap the building in units, in apartment units. It's just, in some cases, they do have parking under the building, but at 110 feet, that accommodates the types of products that are being built today in most places, and that's what we're recommending for your corridors, and we believe to be quite feasible.
But if you say they're going to be at 110 feet, they're going to be able to accommodate the parking lot, meaning what? Meaning we don't need 4-5 stories of parking in order to accommodate the 110 feet.
When these types of buildings are constructed, when I say they wrap the units around the parking, it's not that the units are always on top of the parking. Very often they wrap the apartments around the parking structure. So it's not like you're adding parking plus units. They coexist on the same levels. In other cases, they will put some parking under the buildings. But I showed you some examples of buildings that were approximately 110 feet plus parking, and it's a completely different scale of building than what we're recommending. And we don't believe that that you're reducing the economic viability of any of these projects by including parking and height. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you very much, and I think I'm going to go with the recommendation, including the parking for 110 on 60 Highway. Including.
Okay. So you can go with the
because
recommendation regarding
because I got to follow direction from the expert, because I'm not an expert. I was trying to see the economic impact, but if that's what you think it would be good for the citizen, I'll go with it, including the parking plus the rezone of works park.
Okay, so I'm going to reread your motion. Councilman Bienemez, approve consultant's recommendation regarding West Dixie Highway, including the parking lot.
No, the full recommendation. You don't
So,
have to say.
okay, so you just, okay, so approve consultant's recommendation regarding West Dixie Highway.
Yeah.
And regarding the change Rux Parks into a mixed-use high density, including the portions of the CRA, which is the 3 lots along Northeast 7th Avenue, Northeast 5th Avenue. And that motion was made by Councilman Bienemez. And Councilman Galvin, are you still going
I'll
to second
second
that?
the amended.
The motion was second. So I'm just going to do it by roll call vote, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I have your permission, okay. So, Vice Mayors, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bienemez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Desmond, how do you vote? Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Give me 2 mayors, so I can get Councilman Desmond's vote. Councilman Desmond, how do you vote on Councilman Bienemez's motion?
What is his motion?
The motion is to approve consultant's recommendation regarding West Dixie Highway and to change Rux Parks into a mixed-use high density, including the portions of the CRA, which is the 3 lots along Northeast 5th Avenue.
Yes.
Item passes 5-0.
You want to go back to your motion, Vice Mayor?
Okay. If you want me to combine, I'll make a motion that we maintain what we voted on last time, that the 123rd Street, 19th Avenue remain at the Northeast 19th Avenue, remain at commercial 55, and that we follow the Planning Commission's recommendation to keep the NRO boundary where it stays.
Northeast 19th Avenue, where?
Northeast, I think it's between Northeast 19th and 123rd on Northeast Avenue on Northeast 123rd Street.
So Northeast 19th Avenue, 123rd Street?
Yes, from 19th Avenue to the, I guess it's
I'll give you the address.
20th Avenue.
Would you like the address?
Okay, it's that one parcel.
It's
You want-
1880, 1890, and 1896, Northeast 123rd Street.
1880, 90, and the 96.
1880, 1890, 1886?
No, 1880, 90, and 96.
96.
Northeast
Okay,
123rd.
Then that remains the commercial.
Northeast 123rd
It not be changed.
Street. Councilwoman Keys' motion is to keep 1880, 1890, and 1896 Northeast 123rd Street the same. Is that your motion, Councilwoman Keys?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second to approve?
Second.
Motion was made by Vice Mayor Keys. I gotta write this down. And it was seconded by Councilman Galvin. I'm gonna do a roll call vote. We're gonna call this Keys motions. Councilman Galvin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys,
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme, Councilman Desume,
Yes.
and Mayor Joseph.
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys, Vice Mayor Keys' motions are approved, 5-0.
I have one more motion, if that's okay. I'm going to make a motion that paragraph 1.23 regarding the supermajority be changed back or actually remains a supermajority.
Second.
Paragraph 1.3,
1.2.3.
paragraph 1.2.3. That's 1.2.3, 1, 2, 3. Paragraph 1, 2, 3,
1.2.3 be changed back to require a supermajority to change height and densities.
change back to require.
And I'll second that.
A super majority to change height and density. Okay. Vice Mayor's motion is regarding paragraph 1.2.3 be changed back to require a supermajority to change height and density. And that motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Do a roll call vote here. We're gonna call this.
Discussion? Is there any discussion? We're just gonna.
Yeah, you can discuss it if you want.
Last time, we were here until 4. This was the main particular issue, so I don't know what's different tonight. So please, the motion, because I'm trying to get an understanding.
The motion is regarding paragraph 1.2.3. Apparently, she wanted to change back to require a supermajority to
Oh.
change height and density. So, should I call the vote or no?
So,
Mayor,
Go ahead.
call the vote? Okay. Motion was made by Vice Mayor Keys and seconded by Councilman Galvin. Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme, how do you vote? Yes. Councilman Desmond, how do you vote?
no.
Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
No.
Item, oh, wait a minute.
Passes 3-2.
No.
Passes 3-2, guys.
You need a supermajority
did a-
to pass
yeah.
it.
You don't need a supermajority to pass that.
Well,
You
then-
only need a supermajority on the overall plan, not on the individual.
Well, wait a
plots.
minute. We have a question, Mr. Rowland, because last time it was 3-2, and you said it was stand. So, no, I know, but so what's the reverse now?
The text amendment requires a majority,
But
The transmittal requires a supermajority, and so does the adoption.
But that was the confusion, and we got it clarified, and I wish you would have stated on the record, because at the beginning of last meeting, you said everything within the plan had to have a supermajority, so that was the confusion last time.
But you guys are not voting on the
So-
plan, Councilman.
No, I know, Mr. Clerk, I'm stating that every single item, if you recall at the last meeting, we needed a supermajority for, yes, Councilman Bieneme. No,
Yeah.
the overall plan, but even on a text, am I the only one that was here at the last meeting? Everything that we needed was voted on a supermajority. Tonight, it It's only the plan, yes. No, I understand, but we are voting on text to even change within the plan.
Mr.
I know,
Attorney,
but
will you
that's fine.
please clarify this for us?
For a text amendment, as what we have here, a majority will do. For the transmittal and the adoption of this ordinance, you will require a supermajority.
For transmittal.
Yes,
The
Mr. Mayor.
The language in 1.2.3 requires only a supermajority when densities and intensities are changed. What we're changing here is not intensities or densities, we're changing the voting requirement.
I totally understand, and you and I, we had this conversation. That's how I understood at the beginning of the meeting, but you led, well, at least me to believe that everything needed, even a text, needed a supermajority. That's my particular purpose.
Okay, and if I may clarify it, what the attorney is conveying to us is that we need only a regular majority to change, to keep it or to change it. But to transmit it, to submit it to Tallahassee, you need a supermajority.
I totally understand that. And I'm saying, last time, that's how it was. Nothing changed. From this meeting to last meeting, if somebody would just say, yes, somebody made a mistake or unless I got it confused. I do understand that. And I came to you and I said, Mr. Attorney, you said we needed a majority to change some stuff. And it was like, no, you need a supermajority to change anything within the plan, including text. And so that's just my confusion. That's fine. That's
All right.
fine. Okay.
Okay,
Mis-
just for the
Mr. Mayor,
record,
can I please ask of the audience through you that everybody not shout? We didn't shout while public was speaking. Please allow us to talk. It's very hard to talk amongst ourselves and then have people shouting at the same time.
Well said. Mr. Clerk?
there was nothing, just for the record, we're not voted on tab N yet. These are just amendments that individuals would like to change in the comprehensive plan. So tab N, the big, I don't want to say cojones, but I don't know what else word to say. The big item, the meat here, we haven't voted on that yet.
Okay, let's do it.
You want to vote
let's
on it
go
now?
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so now, this is the motion. I guess, can I get a motion to approve tab N with the amendments voted on earlier? The 3 amendments from the 3 council members. So I have a motion to approve tab N.
So I'll motion to approve tab N. That would mean we would transmit our comprehensive plan with the amendments just made to the state of Florida immediately.
A motion was made by Councilman Galvin.
No, it includes the supermajority. Yes, it does. The supermajority just passed 3-2.
That's a motion by Councilman Galvin. Do I have a
passed
second?
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
That is a motion by Councilman Galvin. Do I have a second?
Okay,
Okay, right, I'm sleeping.
That was a motion by Councilman Galvin. Do I have a second?
Second,
Mayor, I'm going to do a roll call vote.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
yes.
Councilman Desmay, how do you vote?
No.
Councilman Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
No.
So comprehensive plan fails 3-2 for a lack of supermajority. Am I correct in that, City Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We were required to have at least 4 approving it.
So item fails, comprehensive plan, tab N has failed 2-3. Okay, the next item on this was the item that was added by the city manager. It was discussion of replacement of manager, and that's all I have regarding that particular discussion item.
Well, regarding this discussion item, as we all know it, we received a resignation letter from the city manager at the end of last week. And I believe his contract required, he had provision for a 30-day notice, which is what he actually gave the council, a 30-day notice before his departure. And you have served the city, well, I don't want to make any goodbye speech because you are not leaving yet. And whenever we get to this road, we have to make certain decisions to make sure that the city continues to roll squeaky clean so that we don't have any hiccup in the whole process. So, of course, when I received the letter, I kind of puzzled. It was a shock, and but I realized that we have to move on as a city, and I started thinking about what we have to possibly do as far as a smooth transmission, so we can start the process of looking for a new city manager. So, having said that, I want to actually make a motion because I started thinking about people who could fill in as interim until we can get a permanent city manager. So I was thinking about proposing Mr. Michael Etienne, but he declined very respectfully, and the other person that I had in mind, and we have a newly appointed deputy manager who's been doing a wonderful job, and he's been there as our budget director. He knows the city very well, and I trust that he will do a good job in filling the position to while Mr. Ghani, he accompanies him in showing him the inside outs of the details of contracts and anything that is pending, and the things that he needs to know for however it takes for us to get a new city manager. So I'm making a motion to appoint Mr. Arthur Duke, as our interim city manager under the provision that his position will not be filled by anybody else, because if and when we get somebody else for permanent, his position has to be available for him to get back to.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask if the council might be interested in a different twist. We right now do not have an attorney. We're still in the midst of getting a city attorney in place. If Mr.
Yeah, but
Ghani-
you're discussing the motion. Can you make an amendment to it, or it's a motion?
I'll second your motion for discussion.
Okay.
I think that it would serve the city better to have stability at the top right now, especially with the Biscayne Landing, Solomia sale still pending, and the budget still pending amongst other items. I'd like to find out if Mr. Ghani would remain, if the council would even entertain Mr. Ghani remaining through the end of 2015, so that we might institute a search for a new manager while he's still here, removing the need for an interim manager. And then we could potentially have a new manager in place by December 31st, soon after we've just put a new attorney in place, and then we have a new team. And that would allow Mr. Ghani to stay at the leadership role through the end of the year, but it also saved Mr. Sori from having to become the city manager, deputy city manager, and budget director, which he's still acting as too. And let's not forget the CRA. He's got so much on his plate already to slide over a seat. But he's capable of doing the job. I mean, Duke and I have known each other since he was a little kid and I had brown hair. But for stability's sake, I think I would be open, if Mr. Ghani would be open and the council would entertain it, to letting Mr. Ghani stay through the end of the year and accepting his resignation then.
No, but for argument's sake, it's open for discussion. Go ahead.
And, Mr. Mayor, and we are in the middle of a budget, a comprehensive plan, and of CRA redevelopment, and we don't have a city attorney. And I know Mr. Alim Ghani been in government for 19 years, and he understands that, and he decided to resign, even though we don't have a city attorney, even though we are in the middle of a budget. I don't think we should consider that, because I think I take so many hit for Mr. Ghani to be at his position, and I knew about his resignation. I think I'm the last one to know about it, and someone from the outside have to call me and let me know that Mr. Ghani just resigned. That's why I will accept his resignation, and I will appoint someone tonight. I'm in favor of appointing someone tonight, and allow the city attorney to work a deal with Mr. Alim Ghani, and based on what he asked in his letter. I think that's what I will support, because Mr. Ghani is not a baby, he's a grown up person, he understands. And what we are facing right now, and he decide to resign, I don't think, we got to take it as a man. And we are here to govern the city, and we are here to make tough decisions. And Mr. Ghani wanna leave, and I wish him good luck. And then I'm in favor of appointing someone tonight, and let the city attorney work a deal with Mr. Ghani based on his letter.
Okay, can I comment, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I do want to echo Councilman BNMA, but since we do have to, I think we do have a 30-day exception if whatever the council, whichever direction the council does for Mr. Ghani to serve as a consultant for that amount of time, because since we are going to be paying that amount of time, but if whatever the time is, I would support you working out something with our attorney. That's going to be best
In order
for you.
to stay until we close Biscayne Landing, I'm okay with that.
Whichever.
But we're gonna hire an interim city manager right now, and that will be my proposal.
May I speak?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I think that I'm going to agree with Councilman Bianame in that I think to move things forward, so we are moving forward, we appoint an interim this evening, but Mr. Ghani didn't just say, I quit. He did say he was going to quit or resign effective October 16th, which was going to take us into finalizing our agreement with Biscayne Landing, which Solomia, and also we should, by that time, have chosen a city attorney. So I'm not opposed to appointing a deputy manager. I'd like to keep Mr. Ghani on at least till that October 16th as a consultant, so he can help with the transition with our deputy manager, with the attorney. There's no reason.
I'm okay with that. That's why I asked the city attorney to work with Mr.
And I'm in
Ghani.
agreement. I think that
Yeah.
any termination package will be done with our attorney and our.
Yes.
Yes, separation
So,
package.
but
Okay.
I'd like
And you
him
will,
to stay
you
here
will
and
stay as a
transition us.
consultant to finish the Biscayne Landing.
The
deal.
Biscayne
The
Landing.
Biscayne Landing closing, yes.
So for the record, we do have a motion on the floor. The motion is to appoint Duke Soria as interim city manager. The motion was made by Mayor Smith and it was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Mayor, would you like me to call a roll
No,
call?
under
vote?
the condition that his position now is not filled by anyone else, so
No,
we can.
Well, he
yeah.
can, he's the
keep-
only one who can fill the position.
Yes.
Yeah, if you
Oh.
keep the
So he
photo.
wouldn't fill.
Well,
No, but we need to
no,
add
but
two
we
there.
need to make sure
So,
that
with
that's in
that
the
language-
We
motion.
don't even hire an interim
Yeah.
deputy
Right.
city manager.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what it is.
So to appoint Duke
That's very
Soria as
important.
interim city manager under the condition that he does not fill his own assistant city manager seat. And that motion was made by Mayor Joseph. It
But
was
you have to
seconded by
include,
Councilman Galvin.
That Mr. Galim stay in place as a
Yes,
consultant
consultant.
until.
It's already in there.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Still a
implied
city
'cause he
manager until
resigned.
the 16th
Right,
of
exactly.
October.
I'm still
Exactly.
listening, right.
So let me repeat that so I can have a clear record for the minutes. To appoint Duke Soria as the interim city manager under the condition that Duke Soria does not fill his own assistant city manager position. The motion was made by Mayor Smith.
So the interim, he'll be appointed
Tomorrow.
as of tomorrow.
Yeah.
But he will be alongside with
Consultant.
Mr. Alim Ghani
To help. Yeah.
to help with the smooth transition. And
transition.
also, I want him to also be fully engaged in the process of choosing the new city manager.
Okay.
Okay?
You want me to include all
Also, yes, yes.
Okay, so the motion is to appoint Duke Story as interim city manager, under the condition that he does not fill his own assistant city manager seat. In addition to that, he needs to work side by side with then consultant Alim Ghani, so that they can have a smooth transition. In addition to that, he needs to also be fully engaged in helping with the search for the new city manager. And that is the motion as stated on the record. It was made by Mayor Smith.
As
Now,
a consultant
your
for
motion
the
was
Biscayne
seconded.
Landing. Get it?
Okay. Yeah, the motion was seconded earlier by Councilman Galvin. Do you still second the motion?
I need some clarification, because the motions need to be concise and straightforward, and ours wander. It needs to be clear, unless we're moving him out tonight, that Mr. Ghani remains the city manager until October 16th, when his letter takes effect. Is that an agreement amongst us? Is that an agreement amongst us? I don't hear any yeses, so I'm gonna assume that that.
So what
Okay.
would be his position?
So-
So he will be the appointee then until the.
He could be the interim city manager and the city manager. I mean, if I were to do it, I would say he'd be the interim manager on October 17th. But guys, it doesn't know, please.
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Mayor.
actually, yeah. Okay, I take your, yes, you are right. You will continue as the deputy, but as soon as you will reach the date
On the 17th.
of the 17th, then you will become the interim,
Okay.
the interim manager.
Is that what you said, Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
Got it.
motion
Yes.
is to appoint Duke Story interim city manager effective October 17th, 2015. Can I just keep it that simple?
Wait, now I'm
But-
confused.
Good.
So he will serve as a so he won't be serving as a consultant?
He's
Okay,
still the
he won't
city
be.
manager
Still the
until
city
October the
manager.
16th.
Okay,
Until
so
the
the,
16th.
If
no,
we
what I'm
decide-
Unless we fire him tonight,
No,
then
no,
he's
no.
out of here tonight.
No, we're not firing.
No,
him.
that's not what we're
So-
saying. We're
so-
trying to work it out. So he won't be a consultant, because, got
Continuing
it,
the role as city manager.
got it,
Until
perfect.
October 17th.
Okay, so he'll be fully on the 17th.
That
okay.
motion was
Who's
made,
gonna be on the 17th?
that motion
Mr.
was made
Sorry.
by Mayor Smith Joseph, and it was seconded by Councilman Galvin. I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Mayor Joseph,
But
how do you vote?
can I say something? And you're talking about the letter. We haven't negotiated. If we vote like that based on the letter, that means we agree on everything.
No.
The letter
No.
said the 16, right? It's not only that, it's that plus 20 weeks, 7
No, you're not voting on that.
We're not
No,
voting
we're not
that.
voting on that.
The city attorney will work that out
The
with
city
him
attorney is
through us.
working a separate settlement
The
agreement.
settlement, yes.
And
We
bring it
will,
to us.
yes.
But I need something. I want to make sure that any decision that Mr. Alim gonna take from now to the 16, he get the approval of the deputy city manager. That's when they
But
work
here's the
together
problem,
for
if
that.
you do that,
No,
now
he's
you've got
not-
two city managers.
Yeah.
Who
We don't-
trumps who? Whose decision, when staff shows up tomorrow and Duke says, department head, you're fired, and Aleem says, no, you're not fired.
Yeah.
Right.
So on the
We've got to
17th.
have we've got to have one person in
one
charge,
person
one or
in
the other, because if they're both in charge, who do the staff listen to if there's a directive that's different?
That's true. That is true.
So just on the topic of
My
accepting the
motion,
resignation-
will allow the city manager
Okay.
to remain as city manager
I'm okay with that.
until October 16th.
Okay.
Until October 16th, while you work the smooth transmission.
Smooth transition.
Transition, I'm sorry.
Very good. Okay, so the motion, the second, so the motion to appoint Duke Story as interim city manager effective October 17th, 2015. That motion was made by Mayor Smith Joseph. It was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes?
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Desime, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes 5-0. Congratulations.
Okay, now citizen forum is now open. 2 minutes per person, please. Citizens forum is now open.
Hector Medina, 1270 Northeast, 124th Street. It was sad for me that Mr. Ghani is departing. His position with the city is Friday. I wish him well. It was my understanding that there is reservation from among some of you about his severance pay. I really think that he's entitled to that. And I really think that he earned that severance pay because he worked real hard in the 19 years that he represented us here, and he deserved that. And I will wish him well and do good and keep the good work.
Good evening, council members and staff. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gwen Meckler. I'm the owner and operator.
Address?
My business is
Any?
1290 Northeast 125th Street, North Miami Cleaners, doing business as Spotmaster Linens R Us. The reason I'm here tonight is because for approximately a year and a half, I have been trying to get a dialogue together with staff, council, and in regards to my attorney, he's been trying to get mediation to speak with people in the community that have issues, and there seems to have been a lot of pushback, ambiguity, and the likes. But this isn't about me, because whether I am doing business in this city or not, and I do have 3 businesses and 2 properties here, and my family's been in the business since in this city and in the business since the 70s in North Miami. It's all about my employees, 150 of them, which about 70 of them are North Miami residents and voters. And they were kind enough to come here tonight and want to speak to all of you, except most of them had been working since 8 o'clock this morning or were working tonight and couldn't stay. But there are a few that insisted on staying,
That's
and
the
I'd
2
like you
minutes.
to hear from them.
That's my timer.
Okay.
Yeah. That's cool, huh? We're gonna use that.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Dave Isidore. I live 320 Northwest 122nd Street, North Miami. I've been working at Spotmaster for about 5 years, and people are very good. I've been searching all around Miami. It's not easy to find work, and I see no problem here. Like I said, North Miami is a very good place. Very low in crime. I love the area. Very close to my house to go to work, and that's it. Thank you.
Some of them can only speak Creole.
You can translate if you want.
Good evening. No more say Jessica Pierre.
My name is Jessica Pierre.
Yeah.
My name is Jessica
Go ahead,
Pierre.
go ahead.
No
Sorry,
problem,
I'm
say
just a little
Jessica.
slower to translate.
No problem, say Jessica Pierre. Ma vive na
Ba-
West Dixie Highway.
My address la complète net. Give the full address.
Okay.
Yeah.
141 90 West Dixie Highway.
140-190 West Dixie Highway,
Yeah.
North Miami.
Moi travaille un an pour compagnie Sportsmaster.
I've been working for Spotmaster for a year now.
Okay. Because moi apprendre que compagnie a un problème, il va ka rete côté lié parce que gen inconvénient entre Bindin avec bruit qui gen là-dedans. Bon, m'pa konn ki fa.
I learned the company is having problem with the CD because of some noise issue.
Okay. M'pa konn ki fait vers City a capable aider nous parce que nous gen ti moun l'école, nous gen famille qui pour nous supporter Haïti.
I hope the CD can actually help us because I have kids, family.
Haïti. Si nous pas nous côté pour nous payer taxes pour nous travail, nous pas
Okay.
ça ka aider nous.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
If we don't work, then we cannot pay tax, in the CD. So, yeah.
Nous pas ka aider famille, nous ati.
Then I won't be able to help my family if I don't have a job.
Peut-être nous aussi.
Thank you.
Non, pas M. Jean Larrison.
My name is Jean Larrison.
c'était en 108
Oh, you can dire en anglais, mon cher.
Ma traduit quand même. Moi, j'étais dans 108-34 Nord 10 Third Court.
No, say it in English. You want to say it? Or you want to speak Creole?
Yeah. Moi, j'étais dans 108-34 Nord 10, 3e Court.
I live at 10834 Northeast 3rd Court.
Yeah, bah, grand pile temps de m'a travail dans Spat Master.
I haven't been working for too long.
But à soir, I'm là pour me que m'tendis que y a complainte que gagne trop bruit le soir.
Tonight I'm here because I heard that there is too much noise where I work at night.
And smell la fait au malade. Là, mais kon qui ça n'a fait pour kembe job là parce que moi j'ai une famille que m'ga besoin aider tout. That's the only job I have.
I have a family to feed, to help, so that's the only job I have.
And it's pas easy in Miami pour faire un job.
It's not easy to find a job in Miami.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.